If you're anything like me, you are all set to go. You're not thinking of step one, you're thinking about step six and delighting customers. But before we jump into it, I'd like to tell you a story. If you already have your ideal buyer personas made up, you can go ahead and skip this. If not, I hope it encourages you to take this first and most important step in your business and in any marketing. You see, I fish every now and then. I'll go ahead and I'll fish maybe once a year. I don't know what I'm fishing for. I really don't know where to find the fish. I'll spend a lot of money in buying gears and all the new fancy stuff to try to find some fish, but usually it ends up about the same. I usually come home and I'm frustrated, and I'm usually hungry. Now, compare that to my nephew. My nephew probably goes fishing every free minute he has. He knows exactly what kind of fish he likes. He knows what kind of lures and bait they like. He knows the best time to get them. He knows where they hang out. He knows exactly the kind of fish he likes and the kind that he doesn't like. Every time he goes out to fish, he's successful. And he comes home and he's not hungry. Every time is a good time. Now, the reason I tell you this story is as you're looking for customers, who are you more like? Are you more like me that any customer is a good customer and you find out that you're frustrated, you don't get a lot of them? Or do you fish for customers like my nephew does? Is this a continual process? Do you know exactly the kind of customer that you want? What attracts them? What the best time to get them? Where they are? That is finding your ideal buyer persona. And that's really what we want to focus on here. An ideal buyer persona, it's a semi-fictional character. It's a representation of your best customer. It's that name and face that you can put on someone to say, I want more people like that. Now, most companies have 3 to 5. You can have a lot more than that, but I would encourage you, if you don't have any yet, just try to think of 1 to 3. If you're having a hard time with it, there's all kinds of worksheets here that'll help you go through that. And let me give you a little bit of oversight on this. You also may want to talk to your sales force if you have one, if you have customer service reps, even reading through some of the thank you letters that you've gotten from the customers that really have enjoyed you and you have enjoyed them. Those are your ideal customers. There are also something called a negative buyer persona or an anti-buyer persona. And those are the people that you're just not set up to serve. You're not going to make them happy. They're not going to make you happy. Chances are you already can put a picture on these people. Not that they're bad people, but they're a bad fit for you. They're going to cost you money. They're going to be money losers for you. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be happy, and they're not going to be happy. While you might not tell anybody, they probably will. So let's go back to your ideal buyer persona. Now, I just ask you to think about this person. And there's 2 parts to it. The psychological terms calls it the demographics and the psychographics. And most people stop at the demographics. And this is the stuff that the Census Bureau knows about you. And this is the things like your race, your sex, your education, where you live, what your income is, things like your title, what company you work for, your zip code. These are all very, very surface. And while those make up some of your customers, that really doesn't give you an insight into who they are and how they work. For that, you have to go to the psychographics. And to me, this is the things that only your best friend or your spouse would know. Now, before you think this is getting creepy, just remember, this is a fictional character. This isn't one person. This is a conglomerate of everybody. But think about your best customer and put yourself in their shoes. Ask questions like, what are their hopes? What are their fears? What are their aspirations? How do they see themselves? How do they want to be seen? How do other people see them? How do they get their information? Who influences them? Where do they hang out? On social media? On the internet? Different groups? Ask yourself what motivates them. And if you look at this and look at everything through your ideal buyer persona, you should come up with a basic narrative of who they are. Most companies, I suggest, even finding a picture. Go to Google Images and find a picture that says, hey, you know, that sort of looks like Mary the Motivated Mom or Woody the Working Dad. Whatever your persona is there, and go ahead and put that on your desk. And every time you're thinking about the customer, take a look and say, what would Mary think of this? What we do with a lot of our companies is we'll actually make posters up so that they can put them in their general areas. And it will have a picture of the persona. It'll talk about who that person is, what they need from us, how we can best serve them. Because for all of our decisions going forward, we shouldn't be looking at the product we have to offer or the service we have to offer. We want to turn that around and go ahead and look. This listener that we're talking to on this podcast, what do we need to say to them? What are their fears? What are their hopes? What are their aspirations? What are their pain points that we can talk about in this podcast so that we can stay on message with them? And at the end of that, let's look at that and say, what more can I offer this person? A free gift. And all they have to do is come back to my site to get it. The first step in any marketing campaign, or I would say in any business, is to figure out who your ideal buyer persona is. If you already have them, great. If you don't, make sure you look below this video. We've got all kinds of resources and checklists that you can go through to come up with your first couple personas. We've got examples and ideas, and I think you'll really enjoy this process. Once you're done, we'll go on to step number 2, which is talking about you through the listener's eyes.